After 6, and if we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Madonna.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you'd remain standing, we'll observe a moment of silence in honor of Chuck Keppel, who passed away before this meeting. Thank you. Unfortunately, we had a little glitch getting started with the recording, so if we're looking later on for the recording of this meeting, we're doing it with a camera and system we don't usually use, and audio may be impinged, so we're counting on Chris to take really good minutes tonight. If anything. Any public comment? So hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the March 1st minutes and amendments. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? The motion carries. Correspondence.
All right, from the Department of Treasury, a tax return information that was forwarded to the treasurer. From NISA, PAD applications that was forwarded to UPMD. From Erie County EMS, we received multiple course applications for CFR and EMT courses. From Bergman Associates, PAD application that was forwarded to UPMD. Law Offices of Mark Butler, Statement of Services for Orchard Park and Strikerville, that was forwarded to the treasurer. Buffalo News Press, PAD application that was forwarded to UPMD. Erie County EMS course applications for a CFR course, and from AMR, nomination for 2017 EMS Leadership Award. That is it.
Motion to accept the correspondence. Thank you. And a second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Carries. Treasurer's report. Madonna?
Advertisement for the new attorney, and it was $130.45 to the Buffalo News, which will come out of legal fees and notices, and I will make that transfer from another line that has been available if that's okay with the board, the council. Does anyone have any questions on this report so far? We also have to deal with budget for this year, probably should be adopted in March. It is part of our contract. It's something that's set each year, but if we need to make the adjustments, it has to come before the council. If you look at the sheet, the approved budget for last year, the amounts we started with, the budget changes actually that we made during the year last year, I just felt it would be best to include them in the proposed budget. The $1,200 is the $300 per month stipend that we had approved for Chris. And professional fees was a stipend for our attorney for general matters last year that we approved, and we felt with a new attorney coming on, if we have any fees for general matters, that could be covered under there. All other fees charged by the attorney for CON matters is separate from this budget.
Just 2 points of clarification. I believe it's $300 per quarter or $100 per month.
$300 per quarter, so it's $1,200 per year.
And for legal fees, just an anticipated expense, we are still working on the Articles of Incorporation and filing with the Department of State to become a corporation and then to pursue a not-for-profit exemption status. So there's an anticipation that there will be some legal fees for the council there. I guess we'll start with any questions on the treasurer's report first. Motion to approve treasurer's report, JT, second. Bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Treasurer's report and the second motion, should we hold that for the budget committee or? I guess we'll take a second motion now to approve the 2017 fiscal year budget as promoted. Ray Wiseman first, JT second. On the question?
Do we need to include in this motion or a separate motion the movement of the money that Donna has asked for?
That's if we can move it from.
Madonna, what needs to be moved from the new budget?
It's $130.45 to cover the notice under legal fees. It says legal fees and dues on here, but it should say legal fees and notices.
I think that'd be a second motion.
Yes, and we can, out of education and training or meeting expenses where
So the first motion is to approve the budget. We have Ms. Wiseman is our first, Mr. Glass our second. And any other questions? All in favor on the budget? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. And then whatever the amount, 138.
130.45.
Okay, so a motion to move 130.45 from where to legal fees and notices?
Meetings and associated expenses.
Meetings and associated expenses to legal fees and notices. Motion made by Mr. Trepez, second. Everybody moved it once. Ms. Wiseman got it again. On the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And just a point from last year, Madonna and I spoke briefly last week. At the end of the fourth quarter, we were about, I don't know the exact amount, but about $4,000 shy of what we potentially could have expended. We earmarked that money to pay for legal fees, which ultimately we had not incurred. And some of it was written off and some of it was just not there. So ultimately, we did not submit for reimbursement for the full, what is it, $62.50 permitted by the state. That was just for the fourth quarter. We anticipate obviously using all of our expense going forward, but there was a little change there.
All the claims have been submitted for last year. We received the first 3 quarter amounts from the state. Last week I submitted the fourth quarter claim. And that should be, it's electronically transferred to our checking, or our account. I did make out a check for the $2,000 approved by the council for the annual dinner. Mark Butler did write off some of the attorney's fees for general matters. He did not submit an invoice for that. The only charges were for CON matters that have written checks for. We do have to discuss the strikers. We never received a fee for the CON application.
We can, when we get to systems, we can touch on that.
I was just wondering, that's the only check I have not issued to Mr. Butler. Handle that, I believe he has to be paid, but.
Yeah, as the invoice comes due and the matter gets closed, we'll break it up.
$1,400 there. And we were not at the last minute able to apply any funds for training without prior approval. And maybe that's something we can discuss about, maybe that moving forward more towards the beginning of the year or partway through the year before the last month or two, having to spend those funds. Have a
Yes.
better plan.
So everybody's familiar with what Madonna's referring to is that there are specific things for which we can incur expenses and obtain authorized reimbursement, and then some things which fall beyond the scope of that authorization. But if it falls beyond the scope and we want to seek reimbursement for that, we can petition the state in advance to get that. And we think that we might be able to get some assistance there for potentially some training dollars or something similar. We'll see how that goes. And Tom Bahana oversees that, and hopefully we'll be connecting with him and Greg Gill next week at the WEREMSCO meeting to see process will be. Anything else?
I think that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Anything from Madonna? The Medical Advisory Committee met about 3 weeks ago. The conversation was pretty much about the rollout of the collaborative protocols. If you've not gotten the rollout materials, all of it is available on the RE/MAX website. I want to encourage everybody to go there, download it, and get people moving. The deadline is, I believe, the end of June, and it's substantial. For the BLS rollout, you're looking at probably 2.5 hours of video and online examination materials. For ALS, it's close to 4 hours once you go through all the content. So it's something that I would encourage all of you to go back to departments and areas and partners with and encourage them to start sooner rather than later, because it's not something that's going to be effectively done the night before it needs to do. Any questions? I'm sure that Dr. Walters and the rest of the RE/MAC is happy to address that and help you move forward. Other than that, I don't remember there being anything substantial at the RE/MAC meeting. That was pretty much the focus.
There was an adopted revision to the credentialing policy, which will not take effect until after July 1st anyway, so there's no significant changes, it's just better operationalized and proceduralized the credentialing.
Another point worth mentioning is staying in touch with the RE/MAC website, because part of the collaborative protocols eliminates a lot of the operational procedures that previously existed, and part of the initiative is reviewing and submitting revised versions of those for current practices. So there will be a lot of revisions for the operational protocols that went along with our protocol set. And I'm sure those get pushed out as well, and we'll make sure that we push them through our listserv as we get them. But pay attention to the RE/MAC website for more information. Any questions about current RE/MAC stuff? Great. Mr. Gill emailed a report for the things that he touches. So for CMAC SEMSCO, he indicates that he'll be attending the CMAC and SEMSCO meeting next week in beautiful downtown Troy. I hear it's a lovely place to be this time of year. And he'll get back to us with information about that. And the collaborative protocols are moving forward. So that's the extent of that report. Anything for New York State Council to take back to Greg? For Erie County, EMS Week press conference is scheduled for the 3rd week in May. They're finishing details on that. They have an announcement pending for overdose mapping application for responders that will be available for demonstration in June. There's an active shooter program scheduled for May 15th and 16th. The county's still looking for victims to participate in that drill and training. If interested, contact Greg. And Erie County is seeking EMS advisory board members. Also, if interested, contact Greg. Anything for Erie County? Great. Wyoming County, Mr. Stryker.
So two items we just approved today, or got the notice today, that we will have an opiate overdose prevention program in Wyoming County to help support the Narcan and whatnot for providers. We're going to build out the policies and protocols, but we just got the blessing from the state on that.
Great.
And on the same basic topic, we're dealing with the overdoses just like everybody else. It's significant, steady increase in those type of incidents and stuff. So far, so good.
Dr. Walters did write a pretty substantial memo for providers about carfentanil overdoses and an advisory relative to that. Has everybody received that?
Did that come out through Scott? How long ago was it?
3 or 4 weeks.
I don't
Okay.
remember
That might have been for sub-agencies. I'll talk to him about pushing it out through the RE/MAC.
Yeah, we could.
Okay. It's a good advisory, and there's a lot of information that we as providers need to have. Anything for Bill and Wyoming County? Great. Western New York Stress. As
There's a training coming up on Saturday the 20th, I think.
Yep, and the message there is to contact Gloria at 681-6070 for available dates. Same contact for seeking new members, and the report is that they've been active and ongoing. Was there anything else there, JT? Anything for Western New York Stress? Moving on, Budget, Tony is not here. Membership, Crystal? I'm sorry, Article 30. Misread that.
It's not going on there.
Okay, nothing. Anything for Article 30? Membership. What's that?
Nothing new, we have 2 pending Erie County applications, but the rosters are full at this point.
Anything for membership? Systems, Mr. Bennett.
A few things. Ambulance of Western New York, their application is on hold for the applicant's request. We've received no further communication from them. As far as Orchard Park, the council submitted all materials to the Bureau of EMS regarding the appeal to the SunSco. The Bureau has received all the materials and they're just waiting on assignment to administrative law judge. Once that's assigned, you should contact the WEREMSCO for information about the decision, and we'll have the opportunity to address the concerns raised by Orchard Park at that point. And the next part is Damon College, February 27th, the Systems Committee voted unanimously to deem their application complete for their BLS FR. While that happened, the council actually did not vote on that. In the meantime, the Bureau did issue them an agency code, but we have to vote on that now tonight. Approving the BLSFR application for Damon College. Again, the committee deems it complete, and try to do that now.
Yeah, it does come forward. It is a seconded motion from committee to issue a letter of endorsement for Damon College. BLSFR, the official name is the Damon College Rescue Squad. So it's a seconded motion on the question.
What is their intent, just to provide on-campus?
To provide BLS first response service to on-campus visitors, students, that sort of thing. It's been a good collaborative effort with the Snyder Fire Department, Twin City Ambulance, to organize the response and reporting, communications, all of that.
Brian, if I recall correctly, at the systems committee meeting, that vote was contingent on a couple of small items that had to be tied up.
Yes.
Had those been accomplished based on, I think those were recommended?
Yeah, it was a contingent recommendation. Those have since been satisfied. It was some documentation to be provided to the application, and that they obtain information for the optional interventions under REMAC. They have that information, and they're going to be pursuing, I believe, blood glucose for certain, Maze and Narcan for certain, check and inject, and have already submitted for AED. I don't believe they intend to do CPAP. Yes, I believe they plan to do epidural as well, but I'm not positive. We'll see what goes before the REMAC. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
It's a CON action.
It's not a CON action because it's not a certificate of need. It's
Alright.
simply issuing an agency code to a BLSFR. But if you'd like a roll call vote, we can certainly do that.
Aye.
What's that?
Who seconded that?
It's the second motion from the committee. So because 5 members voted it, send it forward. Okay, back to it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And it passes.
And that's it from the committee, other than committee members, watch your email for the next week. We're gonna have another committee meeting, get some progress in our guidance document. That's it.
Thanks, Mark. And Bill, are you able to provide any update on Strikersville?
We're plugging through the process.
Okay.
We'll be back to that.
Thanks. Progress continues, and we'll be certain to make sure you know of our next meeting so we can round and deal with any other
And
stuff.
I've checked the other one, we were planning on just submitting that when we submit the application.
Sounds fair. We'll see if we can broker that deal with all 5 parties. Anything else for systems? Nothing. Great. Training guys.
Got applications in their file? About it.
Anything for training and ed? Do we have a comprehensive list somewhere of our core sponsors in Wyoming-Erie counties?
Core sponsors. small. I mean, we have AMR, ECC.
Okay.
It is on the state's website.
Perfect, thank you. Anything else for training, Ned? Bylaws, Mr. Glass.
I apologize to the court for not, holding a bylaw committee meeting last month. It was my intent, and it would have filled up faster than I ever imagined, so, the intent is to do it this month. If I could just, we're not gonna have a meeting, but if I could just have those on my committee to stay a minute or two after the meeting, just to talk about it, kind of convenient for all of us. And, go from there then.
Anything for bylaws? Certainly, I'm sure Mr. Glass is willing to accept more members if they're willing to volunteer, so
Absolutely.
anybody else who wants to hang out afterwards, great. Awards, we do have, Greg sent us the awards list. I don't know if all award recipients have been notified, so I don't want to read off the list until they've at least been notified. Don't want to announce it in the meeting, but Greg did send his appreciation to Mark Sapanik, Cheryl Mayer, Bill Stryker, Madonna Barber, Dan McCartan, and Tim Shaw for their participation in the process and contribution. The award dinner will be July 19th.
My fault, don't read the bottom of the note, the agenda, I wrote the wrong date.
You'll be out of town. You get treated.
I gotta check. Next week,
That's the second Wednesday of the month.
It's 12 through
It's 19th.
Wednesday the 19th.
July 19th is confirmed, 6 p.m. at the Hole in the Wall on Standpipe Road in Perry. And I'm told it's quite good food, so. Save the dates will be going out, invitations will be going out, award nominees will be notified, and we'll go from there. Anything for PR or awards to go back to Greg?
Do we typically do, the council typically do press releases for those award recipients?
I will ask Greg.
We have it in the past. That I'm aware of, anyways.
I think he does.
We have conflicting ideas of whether we have or haven't. I certainly think it's appropriate if you're making a motion that we pursue that.
I'll offer a suggestion.
Good idea. I'll check.
Brian, on the annual dinner, it's a public meeting, and it's gonna be posted as such on we'll update the council's website. That one is still a TBD. Is there a meeting that is going to occur? Sometimes it happens before that, the dinner, so that it can adjourn. I'm not sure how we intend to do that this year.
Since Greg said it is 6 o'clock, I think it's appropriate for us to conduct our meeting at 6 o'clock at the venue. The award recipients will, be part of the meeting, and we'll adjourn at the conclusion of that.
Yep, okay. I just want to note it as appropriately on the
Yeah,
website.
we'll make sure we get notice out for Bill and Greg will post them at their headquarters in the respective counties and out to the news for publication as well. Thank you. Anything else for PR and awards? Okay, operations review, I don't have anything. Anybody get anything from Carol? She wasn't able to attend tonight. Okay. Program agency steering committee, any report? Any report? Tony wasn't able to attend tonight. For the executive committee, we met, we did not have quorum for our meeting when we met at the beginning of last month. So we had a discussion, just an open discussion about a few ideas and direction. One of the issues for tonight, based on our last meeting, was the election of our directors, which will enable quorum going forward, so that should make it a little bit more robust committee conversation. But overall, I thought a good discussion and headed us in a good direction. Nothing to add there. Anything for the executive committee? Great. Program agency.
I apologize amidst the little glitches that we're having here with technology. I do have paper copies of the report. If anybody wants any copies of them, they'll be up here. It was sent out electronically.
We completed our conference on April 21st to 22nd at the Millennium. It was really a pretty well-attended event, wide variety of topics and presenters this year. We are shooting for about the same weekend next year. It's going to depend on the hotel's availability. It'll be in the same venue. Just a reminder that the credentialing deadline is June 30th. That is coming up for all providers. So really, if you can just remember that June 30th magic date, it works for your protocol update as well as the annual credentialing. So it's really going to be training for the next 2 months. With that being said, we want to make sure that we have all of our providers enrolled in the provider portal. I did a breakdown in 4 sections for you on the in this section that just kind of tells you where we're at. Now, some might look at this and say this isn't all that hot. I'm certainly one of those people. I'd like to be a lot further along with this than we really are. Who wouldn't when you're in this kind of a project? But the reality is it's just kind of the nature of our system, and we're a last-minute business. And so that's where we're at. I'm not discouraged by where we're at. We have some good progress with this. Our high-volume agencies are all in the process of migrating providers into the system right now. So when you look at those, they're not at 75% yet, but their volume is just, they have a lot more employees. So, but there's steady progress that's occurring in each of those organizations. There's 20 services that don't have any providers associated with them. And so you can imagine, the agencies that are typically on the list of being non-compliant for you pick the topic du jour, it is pretty much all of them. And that's just, again, we'll have to chase them around and get them current. There are some other ones where there's some duplicates. And examples would be Alden EMS department that's actually operated by Lancaster Ambulance. Orchard Park Fire District, which is operated in a lot of ways with the same people between Orchard Park Fire District EMS Inc. And so it's just a matter of getting people in 2 different organizations that are really, or belong to more than one to get them to associate with more than one. So it's just small logistics like that sometimes make these numbers seem a little bit more inflamed than they really are, a little more inflammatory. Wyoming County has done an excellent job. Silver Springs, the only I guess we'll call it delinquent agency at this point because they have, they're the only service in Wyoming County that only has 1 provider that's associated with them, and they probably realistically have 7 or 10 providers who are actually in the department. But that's an easy fix. Those are easy wins, I look at them as. So, overall, I think our process, we'd all love to be further along, but it is what it is, and we're going to get there. This is the way that we have to report annual credentialing. So please, anything you can do to help spread the word to your neighboring companies, we need to get everybody on this system so that they're there moving forward. We are not going to have such a heavy lift next year because the bulk of providers will already be in there. Any questions on the portal at all? All right. It's not perfect, but the feedback has been really overwhelmingly positive so far. We already talked about the Flyover Protocol, so I won't belabor that again. Just remember, July 1st, that's the deadline. UBMD EMS has partnered with the program agencies to the north, Big Lakes, the south, southwestern, and to our east, and WEREMSCO. And we submitted a proposal and received an award with the health department to help incentivize some agencies that are utilizing paper PCRs to convert to electronic. So there's really two sides to this grant. One part of it is $30,000. That would be $3,000 for 10 agencies to convert from paper to electronic. The other part of it is there's a data repository that's going to be open to all of the services in the 10 county region. They're going to be submitting their electronic information to this repository. It's going to allow us to really be able to track patients from EMS to hospital discharge. The incentive was for stroke patients, but it's going to be beyond stroke patients. It'll be open to trauma. We're really waiting to see exactly what this is going to look like. The information has been somewhat vague, to this point. I'm going to know a heck of a lot more next week when I'm in Albany, because I'm going to be meeting with our constituents who are spearheading this project from both Coverdell and the Bureau of EMS. And so hopefully we're going to have more information, but services that are interested in being selected for this award need to submit a proposal to myself and to Martha Golke from the Bureau of EMS. And the information was promulgated through our listserv. All the criteria for the bid is available on our website, and we've already heard back from 11 services that said that they intend to bid. There are only going to be 10 awards unless a number of the services really don't spend a lot of money. We are going to spend $30,000. So I encourage everybody who's interested in doing this to submit a bid. You do need to be on paper. If you're already on electronic, that really kind of excludes you from the criteria. You need to be on paper and have a desire to transition to electronic. The last thing about that, once you go electronic, you don't go back to paper. So it's kind of a forever thing. And by the way, we needed an answer yesterday. It's like everything else in business. So there have been a couple of presentations that we partnered with Brian on regarding the changing face of EMS. There were a series of conference calls that occurred that were led by Steve Kroll, who's the chair of WEREMSCO, last year, and addressed a number of issues that all EMS in New York State and really beyond New York State are facing. And the intent was just get information about where we're at. They wanted to know from everybody across the state on a variety of topics, so that we can essentially come up with a white paper, so to say, as to the status of EMS in New York State. And this is information that really can be shared with local officials, with state leadership, across the board, so that we can address things like funding and staffing and recruitment, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. The common thread is that no issues are unique to any one agency. Everybody's feeling the same pain across New York State, and this was really just a first effort to find out what are the big issues that we're facing, and what are some of the, I guess, grassroots concerns that are out there. The presentation one was with the Wyoming County Board of Supervisors, and there were also people from services who attended that. And then the second one was with at Strikersville, and that was also very well attended, and the feedback has been very positive. Brian really did an exceptional job. If you were there, you know that. If you weren't there, you really should be proud of him, because he represented the council very well and was very informed on the issues, and it was great dialogue. So thank you, just to say publicly, and we're going to do this in Erie County too, but we just have to, well, we got to get some computers back and figure out what's going on in the non-event world here. EMS Week is May 21st and 27th, and if there are any activities that you are aware of that are going on in the EMS community, that are going on at your EMS agencies, government functions, please email them to me. I'm not going to send multiple blasts out over and over and over again. I want to do one document that's going to highlight everything, so that people can just look at it and reference it and go to the things that they want to go to. I don't want to flood people's inboxes with a lot of paraphernalia. So, question. You look like you have a question.
Yeah, just a date for submission of that information to you, May 19th?
For EMS Week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd like to try to get it out probably 3 to 4 days ahead of the 21st, but yeah, so right around there, yeah, that's fine. Any other questions?
Thanks, Scott. Under old business, we had tabled the new attorney retainer agreement pending solicitation of other attorneys to represent us. We did issue an RFP. We advertised it in the Buffalo News. We distributed that via our website and some other channels, and we got a total of no responses to the request for proposal, other than the response that, or the initial proposal that we'd already received from Hogan Willig, and a subsequent contact from them asking if they needed to submit additional information to be selected. Their original proposal met all of the RFP points, so there was nothing else there. So I guess at this point, now that we've done everything we can do, I'll entertain a motion to enter into a representation agreement with Hogan Willig. JT, Mark, on the question?
Did they name a specific attorney?
So there is several. Our primary will be Kevin Mahoney, will be representing us. So the partners listed for EMS issues were Kevin Mahoney and Steve Cohn. There were 3 other, I believe, partners listed for general business and the incorporation issues that we're dealing with. Some associates and then all the paralegals and other paraprofessionals, all at different rates. I can tell you off the top of my head, the partners were $285 an hour, which is about $45 an hour less than our current rates. I think the next drop was to $245 for associates, and that's somewhere around $100 for paraprofessionals.
I didn't know if they need one who's from the court who
No, Kevin
could lose that.
Kevin Mahoney will be our primary. We'll get some use of Steve if he's available or not. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? None. Any other old business anybody can think of?
Just an update on Greg's report. He said that in the past, press releases are typically done, but closer to the event and after the state makes their award selections.
Great. Tracy, get your question answered.
Tracy's awesome.
All right, moving on to new business. First item is election of directors. Ann?
Okay, for the nominations, we have for the Board of Directors from Wyoming County, Carol Staffel and Dan Rogers, and from Erie County, Jim Glass and Cliff Smith. Nothing for chair-elect.
Excellent. So chair-elect remains vacant. As far as the nominees, we have Dan Rogers and Carol Staffel and JT and Cliff. What's the term? Does anybody know how long the term is? 2 years? Okay, for a term of 2 years each. And JT, do we have to open it, or JT Rand, do we open it for nominations from the floor before we close the nomination?
We did the previous, like, 2.
So we don't open it for nominations. Excellent. So let's close. That's our slate. And I think we just voted, right? Looking for guidance.
Yes.
Just voted?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor of JT, Cliff, Dan, and Carol, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And no abstentions. One ballot, and we're done. Thank you. We received from the REMAC a request to nominate and appoint Dr. Michael O'Brien to the REMAC. If you guys don't know Dr. O'Brien, he's finishing his fellowship with the EMS fellowship program and is staying in the area. I'm not sure, is he with UBMD? Staying with UBMD?
Yep.
He'll be staying with UBMD, but at the conclusion of his fellowship, he will no longer be a member of the REMAC. And he's been a reasonably active participant for his time there, and I believe actually plans to seek election to the position of chair-elect of the REMAC, which would be good because we haven't had a chair-elect in quite a while. And if Dr. Walters gets hit by a bus, we don't have a chair either, so I guess I will push forward a nomination for Dr. O'Brien to appointment to an at-large seat on the REMAC.
So,
Don and Tom for a second. On the question? All in favor? And opposed? Motion carries. Any abstentions? Good. Last point that we had for scheduled new business was the critical care tag report emailed out to everybody at some point last week, I believe. Some updated information was we received from the Bureau of EMS, there's a total of 9 people certified at the EMT critical care level who reside in either both Erie and Wyoming counties. I don't know how many there are operating at that level. Do you?
So
There's 2, I think.
the last report that we had a number of people certified at that level who were associated, but they only had a regional privilege level to the 8 EMT level.
Okay.
So I'm aware of 2 who are functioning, but I know there's more because of a couple of other agencies.
Okay. So we have between, say, 2 and 20 functioning as critical cares.
No, not that many.
I'm just setting an upper limit. Not 9 that reside in our region, and everybody has the information that was presented in that report. I think that the critical points were, I laid out in my email, but it's basically that it's a very expensive program to keep running for limited to no return, and the TAG recommends that they put in place all those steps to sunset it. And I guess we need to entertain a conversation here because Greg's looking for guidance on how he should go forward with the SEMSCO vote next week when this comes up.
So I guess my question is, if I may, in looking at their recommendations, they listed 4, obviously, so, for those that didn't read it, that no longer approving original classes, no longer approving refreshers or rapid research. The 4th item was to create an automatic advanced standing, which hopefully we should have already been there. But then the other was to continue the CCCME refresher program. That is now a sunset date, so basically anybody that's currently a CC could continue in the CME research program for eternity, is that correct?
My understanding is that is correct, and that was intentional because the concept is that the CC is both credentialed at that level and functioning at that level. So it allowed the communities where people are practicing at the critical care level to continue to practice until they either bridge to the paramedic level, decide to become an AEMT, let it go altogether, have something else happen. So it sounds like it was by design, and also because the cost of the CME refresher is really all on the refresher host with a very small reimbursement amount.
But in reality, based off of this, they could continue to practice as a CC until the day they stop practicing.
Correct. Yeah.
With no sunset.
Unless there's another thing that's addressed.
At this point, yeah.
I mean, I like that.
But most of it was really cost-based. They didn't want to create new courses because it's expensive and not really yielding results.
Advanced, yeah, advanced
To-
standing.
Follow up with that, someone who's not online, who had his CC, whatever, 10 years ago, and he wants to come back in, he challenges at the AEMT refresher course?
Currently certified as a critical care?
No,
Not
No,
currently certified.
they're done.
No, then
because you could always challenge at your level.
after the refresher course. So it's an interesting question. After my understanding is after the refresher course is gone. So if the refresher course is still there, there is an opportunity for them to get into that refresher course. Once that refresher course is gone, there's varying opinions. Some say that they can challenge at the AMT level. Some say that they cannot. The most recent one I heard was Andy Johnson at the county meeting in Erie County. Who said you were there? He said that it should have been allowed to get to the advanced level, but that there was an error. But I know that there's been a practice, and I see movement in the back of the room that I'll defer a little bit to if there's any additional information on it. We don't know.
Is that something we need to get
I think
clarification
it's one of
on?
those little technical things they have to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gray area, it's not.
An intermediate EMT. I was an intermediate EMT, a basic EMT who was once an intermediate. I was allowed to challenge the advanced. So it would make sense.
But they specified a very narrow window where you could challenge from
Yeah, that's
intermediate
true,
to advanced, and it was only.
But I wasn't even currently certified.
I think it was only eight months though, and then after that, you didn't have a chance to do it. So it was a very narrow window that was specified. And I imagine that's something they'll address. There is a time frame. No new courses after September 1st of this year. No research after March 1st of 19, if I remember correctly. Does that sound right? So there's going to be a window to work that out.
Maybe we can have Greg bring that up at the SEMSCO, try to get
Yes,
clarification on the topic.
clarification.
Yeah, I think that's a worthy point. So basically clarification on what happens for the once were, but yeah,
Non-online CCs to come back at the advanced level.
for not currently certified CCs.
Correct.
Yep, we can have that question asked.
Other than that, I like it.
I would also maybe have Greg ask what's the timeline for their bridge class? I know, it's New York State, so it'll be a while, but do they have a timeline in place?
Well, realize that this is an 18-person tag comprised from people around the state. It's not, this is a recommendation to the, it'll go first to Med Standards, then CMAC, then maybe Systems, and then SEMSCO. And the Bureau weighing along the way. But there's not currently, I'm sure, a timeline for that. And I'm sure it's left open because of basically how hard it is for the Bureau to be able to get stuff done. And one of the other conversations, if you all don't know, that'll be taking place at SEMSCO is a budget issue where there was a reallocation of some funds at the state level that these meetings almost didn't happen, and now there's lack of funds to do predetermined thing, so. But it's a worthwhile question, timeline for bridge.
Brian, if it's anything like what they've allowed this previously, and if it was anything like the AENT did, there was really no in-the-box bridge. They left it up to individual core sponsors to determine how they were gonna approach that. So if the paramedic core sponsors in this region, of which there is, decide they don't wanna get involved in this because the juice isn't worth the squeeze, it's not gonna be available here.
Should make clear too, the recommendation of the TAG is a two-pronged bridge. The didactic material provided through online learning, and then the psychomotor provided through a local course sponsor in some other state.
Similar to the AJ.
That's what the recommendation is. It doesn't mean they'll do that, but it's the recommendation of the TAG. Other points of discussion or questions?
With that said, do you think the state will put out the online bridge class? Sponsors themselves, or are they gonna put it on the individual agent or sponsors?
I have absolutely no way of judging what'll happen there.
It's a tough call.
I would think based on what they've been doing with Moodle and outreach for things like the EPI instructor updates, the CIC instructor updates, there's a possibility the state will move it or contract with somebody to move it, but I don't know. Any insight at all?
I think they would put, my pick, that the state had off, first I think they would put it on the sponsor. The way things are right now, staffing and money, I think they would put the onus on the sponsor.
Do we have any feeling about our local sponsor?
I have not had any conversation with any of the local sponsors in our region or the CC sponsors in adjacent regions. I don't know. This document became available, I think I first saw it last Wednesday evening, and I pushed it out, Thursday? This is all pretty fresh. I don't think anybody expected it to come this quickly and be as aggressive a recommendation as they made.
The last CC class that their university just did this semester, tested on the 20th, I audited the practical, there were 6 of them.
6 in the practical?
Yes.
Do you know if all 6 were able to obtain certification, or
Well, they took the test results on back here. They passed the practical.
all 6 tested?
All 6.
Yeah, I'm sure
That was the size of the
Like the
original
state's
CC
gonna say, yeah.
I guess, maybe have Greg ask about what their plan is for that, because what would be the incentive, what if nobody decides to have a bridge course? Is the state gonna do anything to incentivize?
Well,
these
again, the
sponsors?
recommendation is, and I don't have it directly in front of me, but it is automatic advanced standing, which puts them basically into a paramedic program with accepted standing to be exempted from certain classes. And then what it looks like after that. So it doesn't sound like it's just gonna be a, hey, you didn't get these 6 lessons in your CC class, we'll give them to you. It sounds like you're gonna be accepted into the paramedic program and still have to attend these sessions.
Right, so it's not gonna be a whole new program, or it may not be a whole new program at this point, which is,
Based on my reading of the recommendation, I don't think it's a new program, I think
I think
it's,
that would make sense, I think that'd be pretty rational, that,
My understanding of the standing stuff, you described it, one of the meetings was that it's similar to that, like a refresher class. So when you go take a refresher, you challenge out.
or nurses or whatever.
yes.
Yeah, or the nurse in the paramedic program.
But the policies on advanced standing really leave a tremendous amount up to the core sponsors right now.
But that was part of the conversation at that particular meeting, that he was at, saying that certain sponsors do not allow or recognize advanced standing. That's why it's.
But that's also, I think, why they were saying automatic, it would compel them to recognize it. Any other points of conversation on the CC tag report? Entertain a motion to have Greg support the CC tag report, subject to asking those questions. Madonna, Mark? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Since it was an oversight and we don't have a line item for it, Jim, do you have any Bureau of EMS report for the WEREMSCO, anything that we should know about, do, think?
We had The CC thing's gonna be a big topic next week. We're talking about it today, Ryan. Nothing that wasn't in the report.
Anything else for new business? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.